Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into, one of the biggest challenges in the world of hearing aids. It's all about finding that perfect sweet spot, that balance between comfort and actual performance. So let's kick things off with a sound that I bet you've heard before, that super high-pitched whistle coming from a hearing aid. Maybe it's yours, maybe it's someone you know. Either way, it's that classic sign that something's just not quite right. And then there's the total opposite problem, right? That really annoying, plugged-up feeling. It's when your own voice sounds all boomy and hollow, kind of like you're talking with your head in a barrel. Super distracting. So here's the kicker. These two things, they're not separate issues at all. Nope. They are two ends of the exact same seesaw. And figuring out this puzzle, getting hearing aids to be truly comfortable, well, it all comes down to mastering this great balancing act. Okay, let's really break this down. You see, it all boils down to a choice between what we call an open fitting or a closed fitting. If you go for a more open fit, to let your ear breathe and get rid of that plugged up feeling, well, you run the risk of sound leaking out. And that leak is what causes that awful whistling. But if you seal up the ear to stop the whistle, boom, you can get that plugged up feeling. It is the classic trade-off, a real catch-22. All right, so to really get how to solve this, we've got to get to know these two opposing forces a bit better. Let's dig in and clearly define what's actually happening with both feedback and occlusion. First up, feedback. So what is that whistle? It's literally the sound of the hearing aid hearing itself. Think about it. Amplified sound leaks out of your ear, it hits the hearing aid's microphone, and then it gets amplified again. This creates this vicious, high-pitched loop. It's a runaway train of sound. And on the other side of the coin, we've got the occlusion effect. This is what happens when your ear canal is all blocked up. See, the vibrations from your own voice normally travel through your skull and just escape out of your open air canal. But when it's blocked, those vibrations get trapped inside. And all that trapped energy is what makes your own voice sound so unnaturally loud and boomy. So the big question is, how does an audiologist actually navigate this tricky seesaw to find your perfect balance? Well, they've got a toolkit, and in it, there are basically three main levers they can pull to really dial in the fit. All right, tool number one. This is the big one, the most fundamental piece of the puzzle. It's called coupling, and it's really just a fancy word for how the hearing aid physically connects to your ear. That connection is everything, because it's what decides if the fit is going to be fundamentally open or closed. And you've got a few options here. On one end, you've got what are called open domes. They literally have little holes in them to keep your ear canal from being totally blocked off. They're super comfortable and minimize occlusion, but they're also way more prone to feedback. On the other end, you've got custom ear molds, molded perfectly to your ear to create a really tight seal. These are amazing at stopping feedback, but yeah, you guessed it, they can cause some serious occlusion. Okay, but what about those custom ear molds that seal everything up? Well, audiologists have a really clever trick up their sleeve for that. It's called venting. They actually drill a tiny little channel right through the ear mold itself. Why? To let a little bit of sound and pressure escape. Pretty smart, right? And what's really fascinating is how the size of this tiny little hole completely changes the whole game. A large vent, we're talking just a couple of millimeters, can make a physically closed ear mold act like an open one. It really helps with occlusion. But yeah, it also brings back the risk of feedback. A small vent does the exact opposite. It keeps the fit acoustically closed, which is great for controlling feedback, but doesn't do much for that plugged up feeling. All right, on to the third and final tool in the kit. But here's the thing. This one isn't really a choice that the audiologist gets to make. It's more of a requirement, and it's dictated by one thing: the severity of your hearing loss. It's all about how much amplification or power you really need. And here's the crucial takeaway from that. The more power you need, the more absolutely critical it is to have a closed, sealed fitting. There's just no way around it. You've got to keep all that powerful sound from leaking out and causing feedback. Now, if you only need a little bit of power, you've got way more flexibility. You can go with a more open, more comfortable option. All this talk about tools and technology, it brings us to what is, without a doubt, the most important factor of all. And it's not the device, it's you. Specifically, it's the unique results from your hearing test, your audiogram. That piece of paper guides every single one of these decisions. Now, an audiogram, it's got a ton of information on it, but when it comes to this whole open versus closed decision, it really just hinges on one single critical piece of data: how well you hear low-pitched sounds.
the low frequencies.
And this right here, this shows you the starting line for any fitting perfectly. Look, if your hearing is pretty good in those low frequencies, then priority number one is to avoid that plugged up feeling. So you start with an open fit, simple as that. But if you've got significant hearing loss down in those low tones, then you have to have a closed fit. It's the only way to deliver the power you need without that crazy feedback. Okay, so we've got all these different factors in play. The question is, how do we actually find that perfect fit? Let's take a look at how some amazing modern technology helps bring all these pieces together.
See, today's hearing aids have this incredible trick up their sleeve, and it's a total game changer for this balancing act. It's called digital feedback cancellation.
So here's how it works. This technology is constantly listening, like a watchdog, for the unique signature of feedback. The split second an algorithm detects it's starting to form, it zaps it with an opposite signal. And this cancels out the whistle before you can even hear it. It's amazing. And what this means is that audiologists now have way more freedom to use bigger vents and more open fittings, so they can really prioritize your comfort without you having to worry about that annoying whistle. Okay, let's put it all together. Think of this table as your ultimate guide, your roadmap to the perfect fit. And notice how it all starts with that top row, your low frequency hearing. That one single factor pretty much dictates everything else that follows. If you land in that open fit column, the whole strategy, we're talking open domes, large vents, is all about minimizing that plugged up feeling. Your main risk? Managing potential feedback. But if your hearing loss puts you over in the closed fit column, then every choice is geared towards creating a tight seal to deliver power and stop feedback. And the primary challenge flips to managing occlusion. You see? This is the balancing act, right here in black and white. So when it comes down to it, finding the right solution is really a partnership. Now that you understand this whole balancing act between feedback and occlusion, you're better equipped than ever to have that conversation, to really work with your audiologist to find that perfect balance, the one that's just right for you.